This is 2016 Olympian Alex Rose. You're watching Garage Strength TV. Subscribe, share, comment, smash that fucking like button. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of Talkin' Chalk, our new podcast forum. So what this is that we're going to try and lay this out where we've done a couple episodes already, and this is going to be questions from you guys, basically just Q&A, and then we're going to, or AMAs that we might pull off of Instagram, and we're going to answer directly on the mic now so that you can get a little bit more of a peek inside of my skull. So the first question is, why did you choose your current field? I think that's a loaded question for me. I think that choosing my current field sort of based around all the way back to 2007, 2008. So I graduated from Penn State with a religious studies degree. And my goal was that I actually did want to go to college or go to get my PhD and potentially become a professor of religious studies. And what ended up happening is I didn't have a really good track career in college. I was okay. I was mediocre at best. And I wanted to try and continue my throwing career, which is what I ended up doing. And I sort of looked at it as I could choose to get my post-grad degree in religious studies, or I could go learn from Anatoly Bondarchuk and consider that my postgraduate degree. And that's what I ended up choosing. And that's how my current field ended up playing out, because while I was training with Dr. B in Canada, I got asked a lot of questions about what we were doing in training, why was it so effective, and then in turn, that's what led to my development of Garage Strength, because I sat there and was like, you know what? I like helping people become champions. I like learning about athletics. I like learning about biomechanics. I had always had a really, really deep interest in sports performance, and that's sort of how I got into the current field. So were there any significant events which helped guide you into your field? And I think, that sort of goes off of that first question, is that the most significant event was that I recognized I could make money from it. I recognized that, I never really recognized I could make money, and I still haven't recognized that I can make money, but I recognized that people were interested in knowledge that I had, and I recognized that people are interested in knowledge I have currently. And that's sort of where I got to with training with Dr. B, is that so many people, he was like this mythical figure, and no one really knew why was Dr. B such a good coach. But I did, because I was fortunate enough to sit with him at practice and watch him coach hammer throwers, get coached by him for a year, and then go spend time at his house and interview him incessantly and just pester and bug him and learn his brain. And that's what initially people wanted to learn from me. And then as I started my gym and I started to help people lose weight, and I started to develop, state champion wrestlers and throwers and football players and swimmers and all these other athletes, they wanted to know, like, why? What was that? And I think that all goes back to me recognizing that people value this information, and they want to know this information to make them better individuals, better athletes, whatever it might be. How has your field changed since you've been involved within the field? Dude, I think, there's the old saying of, if you know now, if you knew then what you know now, right, it'd be so much better. And I think that's where I'm going with this, is that if I knew how the field was changing, or if I was perceptive enough to pick up on it, it's changed so much. I started my gym in the fall of 08, and I really didn't get it off the ground until like 2010, but 2009, I did start to have a lot of clients, and I had been doing stuff, making videos on kombucha at the time when GT's kombucha didn't exist, or at least it was unheard of. Kefir, people would make fun of me for doing these videos. They'd make fun of me for interviewing my raw milk farmer, and that was like my first content I had put out on YouTube. And if I would have just kept doing that, I think I would have expedited my process of being successful, and I would have learned a little bit quicker. And what I ended up doing is I really, really stepped away from the YouTube world when I could have really kept leading into creating more content, even though it wouldn't have been as high quality. I could have put out more information on YouTube. And I think that's where it changed so much from 2008 till 2013, 14. It was huge in our field, and I wasn't taking advantage of it. And now it's even bigger, right? And now we're trying to figure out at this point, 11 years later, how to take advantage of YouTube, how to get content out, and how to understand the business side of sports performance, because that's ultimately the hardest part is understanding the business side. So it's changed quite a bit. I've seen the industry go from functional fitness and mobility stuff to Olympic weightlifting and mobility stuff, and that's the curve that we're on. And I think that's the cool part now, is watching that those industry tendencies change and just go through needless cycles. And even from a dietary perspective, when in the beginning of my gym, paleo was starting to take form, and then paleo blew up, and then paleo died off, and now keto's blowing back up, and now keto's dying off. And it's interesting to see the cyclical nature of the industry of fitness. What are your favorite aspects of your current field? I think my favorite aspects is it's always going to come back to training champions. I say this all the time, and this is where I'm so fortunate, is that if I could go back to the beginning of Garage Strength, is that all I care about, and even to the extent with Earth-Fed Muscle as well, is that all I care about is that I want to develop state champions. I want to develop national champions. I want to develop All-Americans. I want to develop Olympians. I want to develop Olympic medalists. I want to develop world medalists. That's what I want to do. That's what my hobby would be, right? And that's what I like so much about my field, is that that's where I'm at. I'm doing what I want to do. This is what I want. I want to help people deal with as much stress as possible in athletics, so that I can make them as successful as they can humanly be, specific to them as individuals. And that's where, challenging people from a stress point of view, challenging people from a physical point of view, and then giving them methods to adapt and to deal with that stuff so that they can continue to improve. That's what I like most about it. I'm doing what I would want to do, even if I wasn't getting paid. And I'm not getting paid really right now, but that's what I'm doing, and that's what makes it so awesome. What are your least favorite aspects of your current field? So what are my least favorite aspects of the fitness industry? I think that my least favorite aspect is it comes back to a lot of popular people online that might be more financially stable than I am, and this is all going back to 100% jealousy, 100% being envious of what these other people might have. This is all related back to the fitness world is not dependent upon results. So we've had world championship caliber athletes in 3 different sports. We've had national champions in 5 different sports. We've had All-Americans in 6 different sports. We've had NCAA All-Americans out the wazoo. We've had state champions, everything you could ever imagine. I was trained by an Olympic champion. We've had incredible results. I'll brag a little bit more. But we're still trying to figure out how to be successful, how to get more awareness to our brand, because we're not as good as marketers as other people. So that's my least favorite thing, is that I feel like it should be more results driven, but it's more marketability driven. And that's what we're figuring out now. And now it's got to be, let's figure out the business side of sports performance. And that's tough, especially when you don't have a business background and you're learning on the fly. So that's where we're at. How long have we been in the fitness world? Being in the fitness world, it's been 10 years, but dude, I grew up where, my dad had me in the gym at my parents' garage since I was in 6th grade. And that's where Garage Strength comes from. That's the story behind it, is that we were trained, my brother and I and my sister trained in my parents' garage. And I was fortunate enough. So I've been in the industry, been in strength training for sports performance since 1995, 1996. My dad used to take us to where he was a teacher. We would go up to the weight room and we would train with their football team and train with the wrestlers when I was at a young age. This is 95, 96, 11, 12 years old. And so from my perspective, it's been 22 years of learning and 22 years of figuring out how to push myself, and then learning what works and learning what doesn't work, and then how it's not working and how it is working, and then how I can apply that to other people. So we've been in the field for a while, but as far as a business, it's been 11 years. Okay, so what are some pieces of advice for a young professional entering into the fitness world?
Don't do it.
No, I think from entering into the fitness world, it comes back to, what are your goals? What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to try and be wealthy and make a ton of money? Well, if that's your goal, then don't do it. Try and find something that you like. If this is what you like, if you like fitness, if you like strength training, if you like helping people be better physically and mentally, if you like to get them to be more athletic, if you like to get them to accomplish goals on a regular basis, and you like to push people and challenge them to think more progressively and to act more progressively and to respond progressively and to develop themselves internally. If you like to do that, then get into it. And that's the biggest thing, is that that's what you've got. If you want to come into this world of fitness, you've got to come in for the right reasons. It can't be this selfish thing. You think you're going to be the next Steffi Cohen, or you think you're going to be the next Mark Bell, because that's more of from a business side. You've got to come into it with the intention of helping people, making them better, making their lives better, making them better athletes, helping them save money long term, so that when they go to college, they don't have to pay as much to go to school. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can have. And if you are coming into it and you want to try and survive, you've got to figure out that business, and you've got to have a long-term plan, and you've got to try to manage your own energy efficiently right from the get-go. And that's one thing that I failed with, was that all I cared about for the first 6 to 7 years of my existence as a gym, all I cared about was training all the time. And I wish that I would have spent a little bit more time developing that business side, because I always had that innate value and urge to just help people be better as athletes. And I think that if I would have done a little bit more cultivation from the business perspective, I think that I could have been a little bit better earlier on from the business side. But at the end of the day, all I care about is being the best coach that I can possibly be, and I wouldn't change the journey I've been on for anything out there, because I've learned so much and I continue to learn consistently. And that is the last piece of advice I would give everybody, is that if you want to be good, you've got to continuously learn. You've got to continuously learn what's working for athletes, what's not working for athletes, and then how it could apply to future training programs, and how it can apply to other people who aren't in your system and they're coming into your system and all that stuff. You've got to constantly learn, and you've got to constantly be positive, and you got to constantly make progress as an individual. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talkin' Chalk. Go to GarageStrength.com, pick up some of our custom programs. Follow us on Instagram at Garage Strength. Follow us on Twitter at Garage Strength. Follow us on Facebook, Garage Strength Farm. Peace.